Okay, so right now let's refresh this page. Uh-oh, seems there is an issue. Let me see what's wrong with my React page. Okay, I'm gonna get back here one more time and let's refresh this page. Okay, there you go. There you go. It's loading up. So now if I hit the register now, there is an issue. It's actually putting this in here, but it's not taking us to the register page. Okay, let's see what the problem is. Okay, so right now, as you can see, when we hit the login, we don't go to the login, but it actually gets appended in the URL. So one of the reasons that might be causing this is the React strict mode. So I'd highly recommend you comment out the React strict mode or just totally remove it, okay? So that we don't have that issue any longer. So right now, if I come over here, our site is going to refresh as usual. And if we hit the register now, what do you notice? It brings us to the register and it takes us to the login and brings us to the register. So this is working perfectly well. Now, the next thing that we should do is fix the home page, right? So that we can see something when we come over to the home page. So I'm just going to try coming over to the home page here. And this is what we have, still blank. So how about I come into order and actually open up the authentication application or the authentication template, this one over here. And I'm going to drag the index and just paste it in here like we've been doing. And hopefully you already know that we've got the nav. All we just need now is the main and the footer. Okay, and actually just like what we did with the nav, you can also do the same thing in the footer. It's actually totally escaped my mind and I didn't do it again. So do make sure that you do that. So you can do the same thing that I did with the nav bar to the footer also. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy in the main and the footer, and over here, remember what we did with the JSX10, I'm just going to go ahead and paste it also. Then when we copy this, come over to the, I think that should be in the home, right? The home page. Okay, we don't have the home page here, so let's just go ahead and create one for the home page. There you go, home page, and let's just make this one as the slash. So whenever someone come over to the slash, then they should meet the home page. So I'm going to get rid of this, and we should go ahead and paste this in there. So right now, let's try seeing what our homepage looks like. There you go. Looks pretty cool, right? So I just made this up so that we can have, like a mock of what the homepage looks like. There you go. Everything is looking great. So right now, what I'm going to do is over here, we can change some of those buttons to login and logouts. And when a user is logged in, we actually don't want to show the login button again, but instead we want to show the logout. Don't worry, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that. Firstly, let's start working with logging in a user. So in the login page, I'm going to go over to the login page, this one over here. And what we need to do is at the top, we need to import a couple of things. So the first thing that we're going to be importing is the auth context, this one over here. So we import the auth context. What else do we need? I think, okay, for now, that should be it. We don't have swal for now. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to use suite alert. That should be, in the editing part of this tutorial. So when we've done this, just inside this login function over here, what we could do is just go ahead and create a new const, and let's call this one login user. Okay, so remember we already have one called login user in. Okay, we need to import this. Use context. So use context, we don't have this. Now it's imported at the top. Then we need to pass in auth context in here. So remember in the auth context, we have this login user function that we've created already that helps us log users in. This one over here. Where is it? So this one over here, login user, it takes an email and password. So that's what we want to do now. So we grab the login user, and what do we want to do? We want to go ahead and create a new function that's going to handle the submitting. So we're going to say something like handle submit, just like this. And this is going to be a function. So we need to come over here and you know what? I'm just going to pass in a parameter for this function. I'm going to say E like that. And in here, we should go ahead and space this out. So you can actually still do something like this. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. You can still leave it like this. Okay. So and while we're going to be using this E, don't worry, I'm going to show you. So when we've done this, we simply need to do E.prevent default. Okay. So E.prevent default. And if we don't do the prevent default thing, then definitely whenever we submit this form, it's going to go ahead and refresh the page. Hopefully you remember. So make sure this is E.prevent default and it actually typed out correctly. So when we've done this, that's pretty much what we don't want to do. Let's go ahead and grab the email. So a user is going to be passing in some text in the email, right? So we simply want to say E.target. So E.target, just follow along with what's going on, .email.value. Okay, so this is just saying something like, let's say we are using pure JavaScript or Django. This is just saying something like request.post.get. Then we want to get email. So hopefully you've seen this in Django in my previous tutorial, and in the form or in the HTML form, we're going to have something like name should be equal to email. So whatever is in this name, that's what's going to be in here. This is exactly the same thing that we are trying to do over here. Okay, now we're trying to grab the email. So alongside the email, what else should we grab? Let's also grab the password. So over here, I'm going to pass in password just like this. And after we're passing the password, we also need to say e.target.password.value. Okay, e.target.password.value. And I think that should be pretty much it. One thing we just need to do is go ahead and check for something. We're going to say if email.length, if email.length is greater than 0, then what do we want to do? We want to go ahead and log in the user. So we're going to say login user, and we're going to pass in what? The email and the password. Okay, there you go. So why do we pass in the email and the password? This email is the one that we grabbed from the template that we're still going to configure. We haven't done that yet. And also this password is the one that we're going to grab from the password inputs that we haven't configured yet. Then we'll pass it into the login user, email and password. That's because if you come over here in the auth context, then you're going to notice that we already have this email and password thing that we passed into the body that's going to come over to this API over here. Hopefully we've explained all this in, to an extent that you guys should understand everything that's going on. But if you don't still understand, it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and make a post, like an article for this, so you can follow along with it gradually. Okay, so I want to console log the email and also console log the password, the email and the password, so that we can see what we got when we hit the submit button. There you go. So one more thing that we need to do is just go ahead and look for the input fields. So I'm gonna scroll down here. So we've got the first input field for the email, this one over here. Now what we simply need to do is just go ahead and pass in a couple of things to it. So we need to start off by passing in a name email. So I'm gonna say name should be what? Email. And for the password also, this is the login page, right? This is the label email address. This one is the password. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it's below. The email is below, the password is below. So this one is for the password. So we just need to pass in a name and this one is going to be password. As simple as that. That's pretty much what we want to do. We don't want to do any other thing else. So after you've done that, this can be in a form if you want. It's not compulsory. And also we need to have a button, this login button over here. So make sure that your button has a type of submit. Okay, a type of submit. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And for the moment of truth, let's just go ahead and refresh this, and we're going to open up our console log to see everything and how everything works. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in with some dummy data and hit login, and as you can see, this is refreshing the page. Okay, that's not good. It's refreshing the page. So what could be the issue now? Oh yeah, I think we missed something. Remember that we created a function here called handle submit, but we are not calling this function anywhere. So we need to call this function in this form. So what do we want to do? We simply want to say on submit. So on submit should be equal to what? Handle submit. So whenever we submit this form, go ahead and run this function over here, then run everything inside this function. Firstly, when we submit the form, it's run this function. The first thing it's going to do is prevent the form from reloading. The next thing it's going to do is grab the email and the password from the input fields. Remember how we did that? The next thing it's going to do is check if the email length is greater than 0, which means a user have actually typed in something into the email field. Then we go ahead and log the user in. Then we simply console log the email and the password to the console. As simple as that. So now let's go ahead and try logging in again. What do you notice? It's consoles, the MOSDQ main editor, and the testing 3 to 1 there, and everything looks pretty fine. And also, as you can see, we get a 401 unauthorized error. That's pretty cool. So we log in again, we say something went wrong, 401. As you can see, that's the error, unauthorized. That means a user does not actually exist. So if I open up this error in a new tab, I'm just going to go ahead, open up this Django error in a new tab. Then let's see what it actually says. Okay, yeah, we didn't actually get anything over here. But if we try using this email and the password to log in over here, I'm going to use the email to log in. Password is testing321 and post. What do you notice? No active accounts found with this given credentials. So in the future, we're going to go ahead and actually make this errors even more detailed. Instead of it saying something like something went wrong, we're going to go ahead and say something like, there is no user with this detail or maybe incorrect password and something like that. So yeah, that's it for the login. Seems to be working well. If I try using an account that actually exists, Destiny and this, and login, now what do you notice? It perfectly logs us in and it's come over to the home page. That's working pretty well. And if we open this up, come over to the payload, what do you notice? It logs us in. Now as you can see, the desphixs@gmail.com, hopefully that's not too small for you to see. That's at gmail.com, testing 3 2 1, and everything is working perfectly well. That's it. So let's go ahead and work with the register. So I'm going to come over to the register page, and this is the register. Don't worry, in the future we're going to go ahead and add some pretty simple validations that check if a user is already logged in. Don't take them to the login or the register page, something like that. So for the register, let's go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to come over to the register. You know what, I'm going to close up a couple of tabs that we've got over here. It's getting a little bit confusing and messy, so I'm just going to open up the register page, and we can still grab some things from the login page. Some things that we use in the login page, we can still use them over here. So I'm going to grab this and just put it down here. I think we also need that. Now what we want to do is this one for the register is going to be quite complex, just a little bit complex, so you guys should just pay attention so you understand everything that's going on. Firstly, I want to import use state, and I want to import use effects, not use effects, use context, because we're going to be using the use context just like we did in the previous one, which was the login page. Okay, so for this one, what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and say const, and I'm going to call email and also set email. Okay, and let's just go ahead and say something like use state, and this should be an empty string. So let me explain something before I go ahead and get started. Remember how I did for the login page? I simply just grabbed the email and the password and passed it in here, as simple as that, and authenticated the user. We can still do the same thing for the register. Okay, you can still go ahead and just pass in name, just like we did over here. Just pass in name for the register, username, email, password, password 1, password 2, and simply go ahead and authenticate the user with the function. Just make sure you import it. You can still do the same way, but I actually want to show you guys different ways of doing the same thing. Okay, so you guys, when you see it maybe in future tutorials, or maybe you see some other developer doing it, you're not going to be confused, or something like that. So that's why I want to show you how to actually use the use state and also grab data from input fields. Okay, so enough talking, let's go ahead and get started. So we have email. I'm going to duplicate this into 4 places, and the next one that we're going to be needing is the username. Okay, then this one is going to be set username. So hopefully I've explained this in the previous tutorial, where I told you guys that this over here is going to be the one that's going to be the main variable. So whenever we call username, this username over here, whenever we call username, or whenever we do something like console.log username, then we're gonna get the username like Destiny. But if for any reason you try console login set username, you're not gonna get anything. You're gonna get something like undefined, because this username over here is the one that holds the actual variable. This one set is the one that goes ahead to change whatever that we want to add to the state. So whenever we call set email, we can do something like this. As you can see right now, if you call this email, then definitely you're not going to get anything. Okay, you know what, let's even go ahead and demonstrate this so you guys can see. So this is the email, right? I'm just going to get down here, and I'm going to log. Let's log the email so you guys can see everything that's going on. Now if I come over here and come over to the console and refresh, as you can see, nothing is showing up over here. It's totally blank. But if I go ahead and pass in the state, and I pass in desphixs@gmail.com, and our server runs again, what do you notice? Now we have desphixs@gmail.com. That's because we have it in the state over here. But you don't want to do it this way, because you're going to have multiple users coming over to your site, and you want to do this dynamically. So what you want to do is you want to automatically set email to this. Okay, so we can do something like, we come over here and we say something like set email, and we say desphixs@gmail.com, just like this. And let's refresh this. Okay, yeah, this is gonna throw an error, because it would want to have some like a use effect. It would want to run in something like a use effect before it actually works as expected. But for now, if you do something like this, set email, and you do this and console log email, then we definitely need to go ahead and see this. As you can see, it actually console logged something over here, but right now we're gonna get an infinite loop. That's why this error actually was thrown. So as you can see, it's actually console login desphixs@gmail.com. If for any reason I change this up a bit, then we should still see that it console logs the new one. There you go. So hopefully you have a gist of what's going on. The set email is the one that's going to be used to grab the new email address that the user is typing into the inputs. The email over here is going to be the one that you're going to use as the variable, just like we did over here. Okay, so that's the one we're going to pass into the register function. Hopefully you guys understand. So when we've done this, I'm going to go ahead and uncomment my code again. I have set email that, and I also need password. And I think maybe that should be, yeah, let's just leave it as password. I was thinking if I should put it as password too. So now we have this. I'm going to say set password to and set password. Okay, there you go. Everything seems to be working perfectly well now. So I think that's pretty much what we want to do. Let's just go ahead and create a new function to handle submitting of the form. So we're going to say handle submit, and as usual, you can go ahead and pass in E here as usual, and or we can just leave it as we left it before. Okay. And this time around, there's something I want to do, because we're going to be making a call to an API. We can go ahead and pass in async. So we didn't actually do this in the last one where we used login. I'm just trying to show you guys that there are just a lot of ways that you can do the same thing. Okay, if you pass it in, everything is still going to work. If you don't pass it, everything is still going to work. Okay, but don't worry, just like I told you guys, I'm going to make a blog post detailing every single thing one after the other that they do, like the async, what this handle submit does, or the state, and you know how to pretty much use everything. Okay, so as soon as I'm done with the tutorial, if I've got a little bit of chance, I'm going to go ahead and create the blog post for you guys. So after we've done this, the next thing that we can do is go ahead and say e.prevent defaults. Remember we did that in the previous one to prevent the page from reloading. So e.prevent defaults, and you need to add in the brackets to go ahead and initialize the function. Okay, so after we've done that, we need to go ahead and call the register user. So we call, okay, since we haven't imported the register user, right? So actually, I think something is missing. Remember how we did this in the previous one, how we did this over here? We haven't still done it. So we need to come over here, do this, and actually go ahead and call the register user, just like this. Okay, so when we've done it like that, I think that's pretty much all we need to do. Let's just go ahead and authenticate it. So when you've done that, then we need to come over here and we need to call the register user that we just imported. And as you all know, we're gonna pass in the email. We're gonna pass in the email. We're gonna pass in the username. We're gonna pass in the password. And we're gonna pass in the password too. As simple as that. And I think that's pretty much what I want to do. We don't have anything like sweet alerts now that's going to pop up something like sign up successful, login now. But don't worry, we're going to be doing that in the future tutorials. So guys, that's pretty much what we want to do for now. Let's just go ahead and start fixing up our template. So we're going to be starting off with the email, with a sign up email. Let's see. So email address. There you go. Placeholder for the email address. Now, all we need to do is just come over here and we need to pass in something called onChange. So what does onChange mean? Whenever a user starts typing in something into the inputs, it automatically starts changing the inputs. That's pretty much what onChange means. Okay, so whenever there is a new character or a new word in the input is changing. So onChange of the input, what do we want to do? We want to go ahead and call E. So E over here is pretty much this parameter that we're passing in here to access whatever we pass into this form. Okay, so we're gonna say E. So what we're trying to do now is like create some like an inline function. Okay, but let me write out the code and I'll explain. So we're gonna say E.target.value. Okay, so E.target.value. So if you take a close look, then you know that this have some similarities to this one that we did over here. So for this one, we are doing it in the HTML, not HTML. React doesn't have HTML, but instead JSX. So for this one, we are doing it in the JSX, but for the other one, we actually did it in the function. I'm gonna go ahead and arrange this code a little bit so we don't have some messy code. So in this one, we are doing it in the JSX. In this one, we did it right here in the function. Okay, so that's just the difference. But everything is pretty much the same thing. So what we are doing over here is say, whenever a user start typing in something into this email field over here, then what we want to do is just go ahead and grab it grab whatever they type in, and we call the set email. Remember what I told you the set email is used for. Then we pass in whatever they're typing into the set email. So let me just clear your doubts a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and let's try it and see if this is going to work. So I'm going to log email, and hopefully it does. And now when we start typing something, what do you notice? When we start typing something, it starts showing up over here. So immediately it's automatically setting it to the state while we are typing, okay? So that it's, even if we want, we can stop over here. It's automatically grabbing everything that we typed into this input, and it sets it to the state. As simple as that. So hopefully you guys understand. So we need to do the same thing for the email, password, and password too, so we can grab all this. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's just get back. I'm gonna grab on change again, and I need to just come over here. For this one is going to be the username, right? So what I need to do is on change, instead of set email this time around, this one is going to be the set username and e.target.value. So as usual, I just want to get down here. I'm going to console log each and every one of them so we see what we are getting. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, paste, copy this, paste, and yeah, there you go. So let's see what we're getting. So right now, when we type something into the email, as you can see, we're getting something. When we type something in here, are we getting anything? Let's see. You know what? I'm going to refresh this page so that we can have a clear console. So right now, this is what we've got. I'm going to try typing in an email address. I'm going to say desphixs@gmail.com. There you go. We get desphixs@gmail.com. Then for my username, I'm going to say destiny. There you go. We got desphixs@gmail.com and destiny. For the password one, I'm going to say testing321. Nothing is showing up. That's because over here, we haven't actually added any of the set state thing to the passwords. So we need to add this into the password. And instead of saying set username, it's going to be set password. And hopefully you guessed it right. The next one is going to be set password 2. And we are done. Now we just need to go ahead and call the handle submit thing in the form. So I'm going to say on submit, what do we want to call? We want to call the handle submit. Seems there is an issue with the autocomplete. So there you go, that's it. Now for the register button, this one over here, I'm just gonna change this to submit, and that should be it. That should pretty much be it. So now let's get back here, type in something in here. As you can see, for the testing, I'm gonna say testing321. You know what, let's refresh the form again, or let's refresh the page again so that we have a clean slate over here. And I don't know why it keeps filling in all this for me. Let's actually see the type. So the first one over here is the email address. The type is email. The next one is the username, type is text. The next one is the password, type is password and password. So let's go ahead and type in my email. That's Desphixs. My username is destiny. There you go. My password is testing321. My password too is testing321. There you go. Perfectly working fine. Desphixs@gmail.com, destiny, testing321, testing321. Perfect. Let's go ahead and hit register. So right now, something obviously is going to go wrong. And I think that's because a user actually exists, right? Let's try creating a user with another email entirely that doesn't exist, and we hit register. There you go. Everything is working perfectly well now, and as you can see, it brings us to the login page. And now I'm going to go ahead and try logging into the admin, and let's see what we've got. Okay, it seems there is a little bit of issue over here. Why is this not coming over to the admin? I'm gonna call. Okay, yeah, just add a slash to the back of the admin, and let's just log in. So as you can see, we log in over here. We have the API, we have the users. I'm gonna come over to the users, and this is the new user that we just created now, right? So what I can do is just go ahead and delete out every other user that we've got, so you guys can see that we actually create users in the database whenever we log in. So this is what we've got. Right now, I'm just gonna come over here. Okay, I've got all this. I'm gonna go ahead and remove all these other fields or all these other pages that I've got. So right now, let's hop over to the register page. Let's create a new user. But this is their email. Their username should be something like, I don't know, let's just say something like Sammy. Okay, then we hit register. Okay, it registers the user. Now over here, if we come over to the back end and refresh, what do you notice? We have a new user, Sammy, with their new email, and actually their password gets hashed and saved over here. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, everything is working perfectly well. So right now, let's go ahead and try logging in with this new user that we just created. I'm going to copy their email, and you know what? I'm going to open up my application. Open up local storage. This one over here, we've got a couple of things in the local storage. I'm just going to clear out the local storage and refresh this so that we see what we've got. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and try logging in with this new user that we just created and log in. Now, what do you notice? We now automatically have the refresh token in the local storage. This is just perfect. Everything is working as expected. And as you can see, this user is now logged in. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything that we want to do. The very last thing that we're going to do is just go ahead and check if a user is logged in. Then we're going to display the logout button, and I think that should be something really nice that we should do. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do that.